friendly friendlers. We're here for another episode of Dizzy Strings, Bikes and Guitars, reporting from the dog park. No, I'm joking. Excited to face another day on Tybee Island, despite the long day on the road and the rain and the cold night and everything. I faced the day with full vigor. I didn't know anything, where I'm going, what I'm doing. I didn't know much about the island, but I know I landed on Tybee Island. It was sticking out far into the Atlantic, so that was enough for me. You know, me and the water. I get attracted to it like a fish. And for whatever reason, it's always been like that. So somewhere in the dark yesterday night, while looking for my campsite, I also lost my glove. That kind of bummed me out a little bit, but because on a trip like that, right, it means it's gone forever. But in the morning, some good soul brought it back to the registration office and I got it back. My gloves were reunited and my faith in humanity restored a tiny little bit. I headed down towards the Tybee Lighthouse, supposed to be a famous lighthouse, and to see a little bit what this place is all about. And right there, by all the official flags, I noticed something funny. Oh, let's see when I turn around. I was like, the hell is going on here? There was a pirate flag hanging among all the other flags. That was kind of cool. It might have been for I believe it was Friday the 13th. But I did figure if there's a pirate flag, this is gonna get interesting in a hurry. Okay, we made it to the beach. There's a nice lighthouse right there. And it's supposed to be I can fly the drone, but I gotta do it when it's out of operational hours. So not between 9 a.m. and 5:30. So I'll try either in the evening or tomorrow morning. But the beach is nice. And we're gonna do a little walk down this nice boardwalk. Yeah, the first thing you notice out here isn't even the ocean. It's these dunes, the grass-covered hills. They might not look like much, but they're basically what keeps the barrier islands like Tybee from slowly washing away into the Atlantic. Their roots hold the sand together, while storms, tides, and hurricanes keep trying to tear it apart year by year. And that's why they ask people to stay on the boardwalks and not trample through them. One shortcut through the grass might not seem like a big deal, but thousands of footsteps eventually break down the roots, holding the whole thing together. Funny, really. Even the islands need something holding them in place, while the world keeps pushing against them. I made it had to go check out the ocean. Atlantic coast is something else, my friends. You know, from when I stand there and I look out far in the distance, I can almost see home. I was joking. I should call my mom and say, look, I can see your house from here. And that would be kind of funny. But yeah, a little hike to the ocean. yeah, there's something about the ocean in particular, I would say. It's not the same when you go to the sea. Honestly, it's not quite the same at the Gulf either. But the ocean like gives you some kind of feeling, like it's weird. It instantly calms me down. It makes me feel nice. And it's just like I don't know, like I really like history, right, and stuff. And I always think about all this stuff. Like in this place in particular, it's pretty freaking crazy. There's a freaking giant ship there on the horizon coming in. It's one of the biggest container ports in the world. Freaking love it. So nice. So we'll see. We'll try to fly the drone a little bit. I'm just trying to find a spot away from people, and people keep coming. And I don't want to be like bothering nobody. Standing there on the beach, it's kind of hard not to think about how much history moved through these waters. Long before any of the tourists showed up with flip-flops and margaritas. The coastline saw some dark chapters too. Slave ships once passed through these channels carrying human beings as cargo into a completely different world. And generations later, during the civil rights movement, these same beaches and cities became part of another struggle over who gets to belong, who gets to walk freely, who gets to be treated like a human being. History leaves layers everywhere if you slow down enough to notice it. And then while I'm standing there thinking about all that, this absolute giant comes gliding across the horizon like a moving city. One of those moments where you suddenly realize just how connected everything really is. Because it might feel old and charming on the surface. Cobblestone streets, little squares, Spanish moss hanging from the trees. But behind all that sits one of the busiest ports in America. And out here, you can really just watch the bloodstream of the modern world floating by. Cars, fuel, electronics, food, machines, containers full of things people ordered 2 days ago without even thinking where they came from. Billions and billions and billions of dollars drifting past this quiet little island every single day. It is kind of surreal, really. 1 minute you're listening to the waves hit the sand and watching pelicans glide over the water, and the next minute one of these steel giants appears out of the haze, reminding you that the whole world economy is constantly moving just beyond the beach. And somehow it all overlaps here. Pirate history, slave trade, civil rights, struggles, tourism, massive global shipping routes, little fishing boats, beach bars, families on vacation, and one slightly confused Slovenian biker flying a drone, trying to figure out how the hell to make any sense of it all. Funny old world. That was a little, I don't know, artisan village with the famous Kapuz bar. It's like where all the locals hang out and some bikers come by sometimes and stuff. It's kind of nice. Very nice atmosphere. Nice food. Amazing pizzas. The best pizzas on the island. So yeah, after all that ocean air drifting around and hanging on the beach in the morning, I stopped at this little place called Hakapus for some breakfast before heading towards Savannah. And the ride in from Tybee Island is beautiful in this strange, quiet coastal way. Endless stretches of marsh, grass glowing under the Georgia sun, water channels cutting through the fields, little fishing boats tucked into the shoreline, and that big open sky that makes everything feel slower for a minute. The Georgia coastline has a completely different feel from Florida. It's much less polished, less crowded, a little wilder, like the land still belongs partially to the tides. And while riding through those marshes, you start realizing how much life moves through this coastline, besides tourists and beachgoers. There's all kinds of life, left, right, and center. Shrimp boats, cargo ships, fishing crews, harbor pilots, container ports. Entire working world hidden behind the vacation postcard. Nice bridges. We were on an island after all. And the endless marshes are just like... It's so different. I had this permanent Allman Brothers soundtrack in my head, and I didn't even know at that point that Allman Brothers were from Georgia, actually. And look at that. I even passed a little shrimping boat. It's slowly making its way through the channel. It's looking like something from another era compared to those massive container ships near the horizon. Let's think about this coast. Old worlds and modern worlds seem to overlap constantly out here. A few minutes later, I reached the entrance to Fort Pulaski. I almost stopped right there and then, but you know what? I was really excited to see the Savannah. It was calling on me. And then as I got closer, the atmosphere changed. The quiet marshes, little fishing channels gave way to these giant oak trees. To be completely fair, the ride here was quite, 20 minutes or something like that. Maybe a little more. And most of it was those marshes and stuff, but I couldn't leave half hour of me riding through those marshes in there. But it was very beautiful. I enjoyed watching it when I was editing this video. But yeah, the quiet marshes gave way to this beautiful Spanish moss and live oaks, old brick buildings, white green squares, and a weird feeling about the city. This city was old, had some soul. I like that. This is actually one of the few southern towns that didn't get burned out during the war. And it definitely doesn't move like the rest of the modern America. It's a little different. So first I rode through past this massive park, and we just like went on forever. And I took it in. I wasn't really sure where I was going, but I kind of wanted to get to the riverside. And I attempted first to get down, but I noticed that I can't turn left or something. And so I had to drive around the block and make another attempt. After my short Google research, I decided I'm going one street up and all the way to the other side of the riverside, and then I'm gonna park somewhere there at the riverside. So I rode past this massive park, yeah, and it was, I don't know, I tried to take it in a little bit. I wasn't really sure what I'm doing, where I'm going again. And Savannah, like, just chilled you right out, and the streets don't feel laid out like a normal American city. It's everything goes around these old squares. It's, I don't know, 22 of them or something like that. Uh, and so there's all these squares and everything runs out of those squares. It's quite an interesting thing. And I didn't really know also, because back home we don't really celebrate St. Patty, and it was kind of around St. Patty's. Uh, I had no idea what was going on. There was cops everywhere, and I didn't really know. Yeah, in Canada some people celebrate, so it's not like I haven't heard of it. I just didn't really quite know where to place it right when it's happening, and I didn't know. I really didn't know that there's a huge celebration here in Savannah. And but yeah, definitely there was a feeling like something was about to happen. And so, anyways, the workers were setting up these barricades, bars were decorating storefronts, everything was turning green slowly. Outdoor stages opening, people dressed in green before the actual event already. So yeah, the whole city felt like it was inhaling before a giant exhale. And Savannah is apparently one of the biggest celebrations in the entire United States, which I definitely didn't know at the time. I just thought, wow, these people are really into this thing. So I keep riding. I go down towards the riverfront, where the old historic district meets the water. And that riverfront is really the heart of old Savannah. Sometimes massive cargo ships slides past the old brick warehouses, sometimes a steamroller, uh, tourists walking over cobblestone streets that once carried cotton, tobacco, and goods from all over the world. Even the cobblestones are part of the half history. They used to be brought over on empty ships as a ballast, and then they were unloaded here in the port, and so they just used them to make the streets. There's like old staircases that God bless if you fall down. They're so steep. but it looks very beautiful. Every now and a while you have this gorgeous stone staircase going down to the river. It's really different. It's like from a different century. In fact, it is from a different century. Savannah used to be a very, very, very important place, right? It honestly still is. It's one of the largest shipping ports in North America on the East Coast. Everything here connects to the Savannah River. Behind all the charm and ghost stories and the bars and the music, Savannah was still built as a port city. And by the rich merchants. Industry, migration, money, history. The whole city grew around movement. While I was slowly cruising through all this on a motorcycle with a Slovenian Canadian flag on my chest and a camera strapped to the handlebar, the town is quietly preparing to explode into one giant green party. I just didn't really know yet. And then by the time I was done with Savannah, the sun went down already. The old buildings were glowing beautifully at night. The character changed from the earlier daytime situation. Savannah at dusk has a beautiful glow to it. No more heat. The streetlights start reflecting off old brick and cobblestones. Music begins leaking from bars and restaurants. And the river keeps rolling past quietly beside all of it. Like it's seen this same scene happen for hundreds of years. And even though the actual madness hadn't started yet, you could feel the city getting ready for something big. Crews still setting things up, green lights appearing in windows, people wandering around already dressed for occasion. Patios slowly filling up, music testing in the distance, police barriers waiting quietly along the streets. I was wondering what's up with all these cops everywhere. Little did I know. The city was sitting right on the edge between normal life and complete chaos. And honestly, I think I accidentally caught Savannah at the perfect moment. Not empty, not overwhelmed, just building energy. I kept riding slowly along the riverfront, watching these giant ships move past downtown like floating apartment buildings. The contrast is crazy when you see it in person. One side of the street feels almost European. Old architecture, little squares, old churches, narrow streets. And then just beyond the railing, you've got one of the busiest shipping channels in America, carrying unimaginable amounts of cargo through the dark. Everything is moving constantly. Goods from all over the planet, sliding past you while you people party. Savannah feels really old, it's got a good spirit. It's deeply connected to the modern world at the exact same time too. And that's what probably gives the place its weird energy. It's romantic and industrial, beautiful and haunted, historic and alive. It's like a box of chocolates. You know that was shot in Savannah too. Forrest Gump. The scene where he said life is like a box of chocolates. And the sky turned dark blue and the first real night light started reflecting across the river. I realized I was probably going to spend more time than I originally planned here. So eventually I pointed the bag back towards the Tybee Island, back through the marshes, back towards the lighthouse, back towards the sound of the waves instead of the traffic. Okay, we're gonna get a sunrise flight finally with the drone. In fact, I'm gonna change the camera to the time lapse. Wait, I just wanted to say hi. And that was my worked up face. I'm not gonna lie, getting up that early was a little rough after wandering around. I don't even know. I think I was in Savannah and then I ended up in some bar on Tybee Island. And yeah, I went to bed very late. But sometimes the road just rewards bad decisions. And that morning on Tybee Island it definitely did. I got a killer time lapse. I have a killer drone flight. Nobody around. Empty beach. Beautiful sunrise. As it started climbing out of the Atlantic, the whole coastline slowly disappeared into the rolling blanket of fog, moving across the beach like smoke. It was one of those mornings where everything suddenly feels ancient. And honestly, it makes perfect sense that places like this ended up with lighthouses in the first place. Before GPS and radar and giant digital screens inside modern ships, coastlines like this could become incredibly dangerous in bad weather. Fog, storms, shallow sandbars, hidden currents, sailors could hear land long before they could actually see it. So lighthouses became these lonely guardians standing between safety and disaster. It was a pretty simple idea, really. One fixed point in the darkness. A fire, a lamp, a signal saying, careful, land is here. And out here on Georgia coast, that mattered a lot. Because this whole shoreline is shaped by tides and shifting sand. And river channels feeding into Atlantic. Beautiful during the daytime, but probably terrifying during heavy fog or storms back in the old days. Even now, standing on the beach, watching these giant cargo ships disappear into the mist, you can kinda imagine what sailors must have felt out here centuries ago. Especially in the weather like this. The fog changes everything. Distances disappear, sound moves differently, the world gets quiet. You lose whole sense of scale. And somehow the lighthouse only becomes more powerful because of it. They're not flashy, they're not loud. They stand there and they shine a light for you. And they do their job while the entire landscape keeps changing around it. I think people need lighthouses too sometimes. And not necessarily people telling them where to go, just small signs reminding them they're not completely lost. And I think that's partly why places like this hit me pretty hard during these trips. When you spend enough time alone on the road, drifting between cities, campgrounds, coastlines, certain places start feeling less like tourist attractions and more like emotional checkpoints. You stop measuring locations by what attractions are here and start measuring them by how did this place make me feel. That foggy morning on Tybee felt pretty peaceful in a way that's pretty hard to explain. Like the island was suspended outside of a normal time for a few hours. Just waves, fog, ships somewhere in the distance, and this old lighthouse slowly appearing and disappearing inside the clouds while the sun tried to break through behind it. Honestly, it felt less like filming footage and more like stumbling into a scene that already existed long before I arrived. I was just lucky enough to catch it. I was determined. One sunrise, for sure. I'm gonna get it. Wow, that was a dramatic morning, not warning. I'm always tired. I do like, I'm sleeping 5 hours a night, like Jesus Christ. It's so much fun everywhere. And it's just nice to be around. Like I don't go to bars or anything. Like I just hang out a little bit. And I want to see this, and I want to see that, and I want to see this, and I want to see that. And then in the evening I'm like, oh, maybe I go for one little beer. And then I meet some crazy locals. And it gets funny. All kinds of funny people I've met on this trip. But they all have one thing in common. They're all very individual people walking their own path. And I like that, because that's who I am. Anyway, I had the most dramatic morning on the beach there. It was so nice. I managed to fly the drone a bit. I managed to fly around the lighthouse over there before they open up, because they're allowed to fly over it before they open. And they open at 9. And I got such an awesome shot. Unbelievable. Supposed to be it's still working, but now they have like LED lights, and it's not so dramatic like in the old times with those Fresnel or something lights, where you saw a beam like for miles around. Like that would be cool if I caught that on camera. But okay, that was a different time. But it's crazy here. You hear the birds. It's like alive. But the weather is getting a little cold, like there's a cold front coming for some reason. The weather is going totally crazy. Looks like I'm gonna have to take another 14 days before I get back to Canada. So I gotta be smart about it. And it's getting a bit cold here too. So I gotta be like, I'm gonna have to do my weather study again. It's quite time consuming, I gotta say. You gotta like look through the weather, through the whole weather, right? I can comfortably do in this weather and this light, right? Because the days are much shorter than in the summer. In the summer is different. In the summer you can start in the middle, like you can start really early in the morning, and like you do it. Anyway, let's walk around a bit. People are gonna think I'm crazy again, like there's nobody around. So like this, we're gonna check this out too. There's a museum. Oh, batteries. It's like a safe place if there's a hurricane. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, the weather. You have to like, when you're on the way I'm doing this trip is I'm actually like just following the weather around, right? If the rain is coming my way, like I'm gonna move somewhere else where there is no rain. And I'm not committed anywhere, like I'm just like going camping and looking for cheapest options for, let's say, that are still like safe and normal, right? I don't want to like risk fucking myself up or getting robbed or whatever. So I'm staying on the safe side. But the thing is, with the weather, I'm studying the whole freaking. I can do 600 miles, like I said, comfortably in this weather, winterish, getting into the spring. And so I'm constantly looking what's happening with the weather, right? So if the rain is coming my way, I'm escaping. Like I go like 600 miles a day somewhere, right? I could do more than 600, but it gets uncomfortable riding at night in this temperature. And in the early morning, it takes a while before things warm up. And so it's like, I'm still on vacation, I don't want to freaking suffer. So yeah, soon it's going to be another weather study. See if I can make it somewhere nice, cheap, and warm. But let's look at some history here. So, it was a big thing, right? This beach is still a little bit crazy. I went out, had a smoke and a coffee, and somebody said like, hey, they're serious about the no smoking ban. You can't smoke on the beach. $250 fine. So that's nowadays. But back in the day, I guess we have to come and do the smokings. We should all come to the beach and smoke up. Anyway, they did the Wadians back in the day. The black people, they weren't allowed on the beach. Like, I'm looking at this, I'm going here around the south and looking at this like history and the Jim Crow laws, right? It's freaking crazy, man. And then they wonder, like, I mean, the whole rap culture and ghetto and all this stuff. Oh, look, it's my buddy. I met that guy yesterday. That's so funny. Oh, I hope he comes here. That would be cool. Ah, no, he's going away. He's like a crocodile Dundee kind of guy. Yeah, when I go around the south and I see all this history about slaves and the way they treated black people, like it's a little bit like weird to say the least. I mean, I grew up in Slovenia. I didn't have like exposure to any of this before. I heard about it obviously, and we were all like, oh, that's horrible and wrong and I don't know what. But then here I'm walking around where things were like that, and I still see like a little bit of it lingering. I'm not gonna say it's bad. I haven't seen any like crazy racial things. Well, the voodoo priest there in New Orleans said that on his tours, people come around and call him the N-word. But I don't know. I'm hoping I'm talking loud enough. I don't want to be like screaming into the camera, and I don't want to be going around. Looking like I'm crazy. Talking to myself super loud, screaming in the parking lot. We'll see. I should have brought the little microphone, but I couldn't quite figure out how it works, and I didn't want to risk talking it up, because that happened too. I recorded some nice shots with the drone and I thought I had the audio, and then I didn't have the audio. So, like that. I'll be back here to the beach later. I think I have to go do my laundry, but let's look at this a bit. So yeah, see, they came from Africa. I mean, they brought them to Africa, you see, to the West Indies, like to the islands and stuff, the Iraqis and everywhere I was before, but the worst was down here. And then this is where all the plantations were and all that shit, right? Like cheap. And then the raw materials went there. The only thing they required was food and raw materials, but that was like just this for their sustenance, right? Not a lot, but they sent tons and tons of like slaves all over, right? That's pretty crazy. Alright, pretty enough. It's history. If you want to read it, pause it. And some of that. And some of that. And about the sheep from Tybee Island. That's so fucked up, man. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine that. Some different color person comes to your country and starts fucking taking you in fucking wagons and shit to the beach and unloading onto these ships like cattle. And taking you across the ocean takes forever. Like fucking a month or 2 or 3 or whatever the fuck. But what I do appreciate that there's a pirate flag hanging somewhere over there. Fuck, I can't say it today. There was a pirate flag hanging yesterday. That's too funny, buddy. Did somebody replace? I think somebody must have replaced the... What? Which one? The British flag or what? I think one flag wasn't there yesterday and there was a pirate flag. Maybe because it was Friday 13th. That's so funny. Well, I got to see something cool. Now let's see what they say about the Tybee Lighthouse. It's pretty cool. So it's still working. It's still in operation. The building itself, originally they built one in like 1700s already, and then this is from 18 something. We'll see over there what the lake is saying about it. It's nice. Georgia's super pretty. Reminds me of Slovenia. Everything is fucking taken care of. People are very polite and laughing and funny and all this stuff. They have strict smoking laws, which I don't really like so much, but then you can walk with drinks downtown. So like I said, reminds me of Slovenia a little bit. It's like polite and nice and everything taken care of, but a little bit strict, on the strict side, which I don't know, might be okay. People look pretty decent. I don't see no homeless people on the street and no druggies. I didn't even see anybody smoking downtown like yesterday. I barely saw a person with a cigarette here and there. Pretty crazy. Anyway, look, you see? I came across all these cool things out of the blue. I don't fucking even know what I'm doing. I'm just riding around and I came here to one of the biggest St. Patrick's celebrations in the world. I mean, besides like obviously Ireland and I think New York and Boston. And this one is right up there. It's supposed to be like 500,000 people come. So this is going to be an interesting weekend. I would kind of like to spend today in Savannah a little bit. It gets so cold in the evening and shitty to drive here. It's not too far. It's only like 25 minutes, but it's kind of shitty. And it's a fast road and out in the wild. You know how it is with the motorcycle. Nobody likes to ride at night, and there's a reason for it. There's actually many reasons, not just one. Anyway, we'll check this out. In fact, I could fly a drone right now. But it's okay, I got a really nice shot. I don't want to be intrusive. I think that's the key. With the drones, that's the key with the cameras. You know, just don't be intrusive, like be nice, be polite, don't film people. I mean, it would be maybe cool if I started doing a little bit of interviews also and talking to people, but we'll see. I might try. I don't even know what the fuck is this battery. Oh, that was like a see. There were guns to protect the coast. Crazy. Range of 10 miles. Brutal. There's crazy history. There was wars, there was naval battles, there was pirates, lighthouses. The dude that Oglethorpe or whatever his name was, that founded Savannah. He was a big person here. I don't know what he was. What kind of a klukec we would say in Slovenia. But okay, we're gonna turn this off now. We're going residential. That is pretty here. Look at all these fucking palms.